Welcome back to our Safe Dogs and Safe Communities series, where we're talking to people working every day to make our communities safer for both people and dogs. Right now, this conversation feels more urgent than ever, with dog safety front of mind for the public, the media, and organisations and professionals working in this space to make a difference. Today, I'm joined by Jo Clough, founder of the Dog Safe Workplace, whose daily work puts her right at the centre of this issue. Welcome, Jo. Really glad to have you with us today.
Thank you, Nick. Looking forward to it.
Can you tell us a bit about the Dog Safe Workplace, what you do and the kind of work you're involved in?
So, the Dog Safe Workplace is based here in Australia and now also in the UK. And we work with companies whose staff have to go onto properties where there may be dogs. So, we're talking about delivery personnel, utility workers, healthcare workers are the highest industry for dog-related injuries. And we work with them and teach them how to recognize the body language that dogs are showing us when they're becoming anxious or fearful. And what this allows the person on the property to do is to remove themselves should anything become dangerous. But it also gives them tips for their day-to-day life. So we talk about how they will come across dogs in the community, what to do. So everything is geared up to educating the person so that not only is the person safe, but the dog is also not put in a situation where it's stressed or anxious.
Yeah, and how long have you been doing this sort of work for?
We started the company in 2013. It was under a different name at the time. It was under Pet First Aid and Training New Zealand Limited. And then in 2016, we created it as its own entity. And we started off just doing face-to-face training, but it came so expensive for our clients that we then created an online training program. And then, of course, over COVID, we had to find another way to deliver training to our staff. So we started doing Teams and Zoom training, which is how we train a lot of our clients overseas.
Oh, great. Yeah, yeah. And what sort of community groups would you usually be working with?
Do you mean
Councils?
clients or?
Yeah.
So we work with a lot of government departments and a lot of councils around New Zealand.
Mhm.
Our big client in the UK is actually Bolton Council, who do exactly what our guys do, but just in a very different environment, shall we say. We work with Bureau of Statistics, both here and in Australia, a lot of utility companies. So, an awful lot of utility companies, real estate agents, property managers, couriers, uh, yeah, a huge variety. So, anybody who literally has to go onto a property or is working out in the field. So, with councils, we do quite a bit of work with their parks and recreation staff who are actually in the community and dogs are approaching them because they're in parks or places like that. So, and dog control officers, we do work with them throughout New Zealand as well.
Oh, fantastic. So let's talk about what's actually happening at the moment in New Zealand. So beyond what the media has covered, what do the numbers and trends actually tell us about dog bite incidents right now?
Last year, we actually had a slight drop in the reported number of dog incidents. So I have collected dog-related injuries from ACC from 2005 to 2025. So I've got 20 years of looking at statistics. What we're seeing is there was a slight drop this year, which could just be an anomaly that people aren't reporting, or we could actually be making a difference. It's going to be really hard to tell until we see next year. But last year, ACC reported over 28,000 dog-related injuries, costing over $36.5 million. Now, the interesting thing about this is we also know that less than 20% of dog-related injuries are reported. And that is a huge number. And I know that because when I first started my company in 2013, a client approached us who had had 105 dog related incidents in 2013. When I looked at all of the industry on ACC figures for 2013, there was only 20 reported. So, and that is all of these companies or organizations in this particular industry. So there are so many ways that we are missing the numbers. If a child goes to the doctors because it's been bitten, if they're under the age of 14 and they don't require ongoing medical treatment, you might not fill out an ACC form because the government already pays for children under the age of 14 and they don't need further care. So my daughter was bitten, and it was purely a situation where a friend's dog got hyperexcited and bit her on the back of the leg and she needed a tetanus. But she didn't need ongoing care, so it wasn't an ACC form. She just went in and got a tetanus shot. Companies have private insurance, so we don't see it going through ACC. So mandatory dog reporting would be amazing if we could actually find out the true numbers. But I would never want anybody saying a breed of the dog because so many people don't know a pit bull from a poodle. And in fact, I used to have a Lancia Newfoundland, and so many people asked if he was a border collie. So the difference between a 20-kilo border collie and an 86-kilo Newfoundland. So people unfortunately just don't necessarily know the breed. So we just want to know, did you know the dog? Did you require medical treatment? Those kind of things.
And probably a bit of the what was the actual situation, more situational context, the environment that the dog was in as well. Um,
Yes,
yeah, would be ideal, wouldn't it?
it would be. It would be. It'd be great. The thing is, if we do get the opportunity to do this, it's going to have to be short. People aren't going to want to write an essay. So, it may be, would you mind us contacting you for further information? Something along those lines. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And what about the less visible impact? So there will be an emotional and psychological side to when people are bitten, or even if their dogs are bitten when they're out walking. Do we have any stats on those?
No, unfortunately, we don't. But it's not even about a bite, it's about being chased or hearing stories. Um, there was a little girl injured quite a few years ago now, and her injuries were so terrible. Um, when we contacted the school to see if we could come in and actually talk to the children about dog safety, we couldn't because her classmates were so traumatized. So it's just things we don't expect. As animal lovers, we kind of dismiss or forget that some people are just scared of dogs. A lady I worked with was from India, and she'd never known there to be a pet dog. All the dogs she came across were roaming in packs and attacking people. She was absolutely terrified. She got used to it because we had an office dog and she became more relaxed. But that fear, that absolute fear she had, it would be like a bit like me standing on a ladder or looking over a bridge or something. That would just do my head in. So yeah. So, we have to think about all those things as well, that the psychological hidden effects of just being around a dog when you're not used to them.
And that's where it's so important too that you work with workplaces because there'll be many multicultural workplaces now. And the fact that there are a lot of people that are terrified of dogs, it's just so important the work you do there.
Yeah.
Um, do you think the public in general is getting more anxious about dogs in public spaces?
I think they are because we are hearing so much more of it in the media, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But we've just been through Dog Bite Awareness Week. It was in April, and it wasn't really visible in New Zealand. I mean, we send out a daily tip to all of our clients, and we put it on our social media and we share it with vets or companies who approach us for it. But just those little tips that you can give over that week to make people more aware and to potentially alleviate their anxiety because New Zealand's a beautiful country and we all want to go out there and walk in it and share in it. But if you're scared of dogs, I've met people who are too scared to go walking in case they come across a dog. And it's so sad. And as dog owners, we need to step up a little bit more and make it better for them so that we can lessen that anxiety. And we see it a lot in children. You have children do two things when it comes to dogs. They run towards them or they run away from them. And both of those things we need to educate and get children also aware that you can't do that.
Absolutely. Talking about responsible dog ownership, what does that look like to you?
Gosh, that's $1 million question.
Yeah.
Um, Responsible, well, it would be for me that owners of dogs understand their responsibility, not just under the law, but their responsibility as a member of society. And most people who have dogs love their dogs. They want the best for their dogs. So training the dog so it comes if it's off lead, but also educating the family around how to behave around that dog. So every dog in a home should have a space where it can't be interfered with. So if you've got friends who come round and they bring their kids, the kids know that if the dog's in his crate or on his bed, they leave him alone. It's his little quiet space. And I think just there are so many little tips that we could just give out that would help people. As a dog owner myself, when I first started doing this, and each year I learn more and more because we constantly update the material we have. So the things like we've always been taught to put your hand out for the dog to smell. We now know that you shouldn't do that. You don't know that dog. You don't know that dog's experiences. And dogs have 300 million olfactory sensors. They smelt us before we put our hand out there. And especially children who move quickly and they could frighten the dog. You don't know if that dog has potentially been hit. So you putting your hand out, the dog might bite you. I know somebody who, when he got his dog, roughhoused with it all the time, as a lot of people do, but the dog's biting his hands the whole time. And then he smacks the dog, and then he pats the dog, and then he feeds the dog. Every time you put your hand near that dog, it bites you. It has no idea what's going on. Fortunately, they've moved overseas, so they're not a risk in New Zealand anymore. But for kids, just stand still. Let the dog come up to you. And if it doesn't come up to you, as a responsible owner, you can say no. If someone says, and I'm that person, I'm that annoying person, you're walking your dog, I've pulled my car over to ask if I can pet a dog. I just can't help myself. But I will ask, and if they say, oh no, it's fine. And parents need to let children know that sometimes the dog might not want to engage with the child, might not like kids, but it might be not feeling well. It might be tired, it might be old and sore. So if if as a responsible pet owner someone asked me and I could say, look, no, I'm sorry, he's not feeling very well today, and the child accepts it and moves on, that's great. Or if I say yes, but my dog doesn't walk up to that person, the dog doesn't want to engage. Never drag your dog to that person, which I've seen happen. Let the dog come up to you and sniff you. You know, don't force yourself on the dog. You wouldn't like it anymore if, so like you and I were out somewhere, Nick, and you went, oh gosh, I don't like that person. I grabbed you by the arm and dragged you over to talk to them. So it's those little things, and dogs will move away from us if they don't want to engage. So let them. Don't chase after them.
Oh, that's such great advice. And can you also give some advice about when a dog then does approach and is happy to approach? What should a child do, for example, in relation to petting the dog and things like that?
We have quite a different view from a lot of what people would have heard. And I'm part of a dog bite prevention committee in the UK. So we update every year. And when you think about a dog has come up to you, it sniffed you, it wants to engage, don't touch it round its head or face. If you've got a child and it's bending down to touch a dog on the face or the head or the chin, you're putting the child's face right in the dog's bite zone. 80% of dog bites to children in New Zealand are on the head and face. So if you go through the process, may I pet your dog? Yes, you may. Let the dog come up to you and sniff you, and then only touch the side and the back of the dog. If the dog does not like it, they can move away. Don't let your child hug a strange dog. Don't let them put their face in the dog's face. You wouldn't stand your child behind a horse, so why would you stand it at the bitey end of the dog? And it's so much safer for your child, which is what we talk about. We talk about in the community, how can we keep everybody safe but still enjoying each other? The dog will have a much better engagement with a child that it doesn't know if the child isn't jumping all over it or hugging it. Mm.
It's great. Yeah, really important. Really important message to get out there, isn't there? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you could change one thing that New Zealanders, I guess, do in the way they approach dogs or the way they own dogs or they approach dog safety, what would one or two changes be that you would like to see actioned in New Zealand, I guess?
I would like to see everybody who owns a dog have just a little bit of education about what the dog's telling them. There are so many situations where dogs look to us as their owners and say, help me, get me out of this situation. The lowering of the head, the ears back, the closed mouth, the panting, the yawning, the looking away from a person. If we understood that as a dog owner, and I could say to someone, please don't do that, he's doing this because he's uncomfortable, then we're going to stop escalation in so many things. So anybody who registered a dog, I'd love them to have a little 10-minute training session on the behaviour of the dog and have the whole family sit and do it. That would be really great. And even for people in the community, I do talks at places like Rotary and Lions Club and um, those kind of places. And quite often I'm talking with people who have grandchildren and explaining to them because they're saying, my dog nipped my grandchild. And my first reaction is, okay, what was the situation? How can we make sure that doesn't happen? So put some boundaries in for the children and for the dog. I'm on 10 acres and I've got a big pit bull mastiff cross. When my friends come around with their kids and the kids are running around outside, I don't let my dog run around outside with the children. He can engage with the children when they're doing quiet activities, but when they're running around and the dog gets all excited, he's going to bowl a kid over or he's going to jump up and grab an arm because he's playing and that's what dogs do. So just little bits of education would be what I want to see changed. Just things to make it better for the dog and better for us.
Yeah. That's definitely what we would like to see as well. Be great. And especially, I think a lot of online resources are really good these days because people do go on their phones a bit. Talking about phones, do you see a problem with the use of phones out and about now? I guess the answer will be yes, but
All the time,
something
all
in
the time.
specific that, yeah, that you
Yeah.
notice people just too distracted, not watching their dogs.
Yeah, it's something when I'm training with like our utility workers, for example, and we say to them, be observant. And it's like when you're getting out of your car, just check who's around. You have these people on those retractable leads and they're on their phone and their dog's off, walking around trees, tripping over people. Get off your phone. You're on the beach and your dog is running rampant or in a dog park, running wild, and you're on your phone, you're not paying any attention to what the dog is doing. Put your phone down. It's a real bugbear for me because I totally get how easy it is to fall into that, what do they call it, doom scrolling or whatever. And I can do it quite easily, no problem at all. But when you're out with your dog as a responsible pet owner, you need to make sure you're not only is your dog safe, but he's safe around the public. If you've got a little dog on a retractable lead and he runs across the road to greet another dog, he could get hit by a car, you know, or he could actually bite a dog that is bigger than him and may retaliate. And that happened to me. I was walking my Newfoundland and a little Yorkshire Terrier came running up, jumped, bit him on the face, and Norman just flicked his head and the dog went flying. But the owners thought it was really funny. And I had to say to them, if my dog retaliates, your dog will be very, very badly injured. I think I might have said your dog will be dead. But the fact is, they thought it was funny and it's not funny. It doesn't matter the size of the dog, they can all bite. And people say my dog doesn't bite. Every dog will bite if given the right opportunity, or the right circumstances, probably the better word. If the child's pulling the dog's tail or poking it in the ear, at some stage the dog will only put up with it for so long. So, it's really important.
It is, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so back to the education. If you are wanting to learn more, definitely learn through the digital sources that are out there, but don't do it while walking your dog.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
if you've got kids, jump on our website. There are huge resources on there to educate your children. There's teachers' guides, there's really cool cutout models the kids can make that stand up. They're really cute. So you've got the Newfoundland this big and the Chihuahua this big. So they're all relative. And, learning about your dogs with your dog can be fun.
yeah, oh, absolutely. And there's some cool games out as well that you can buy, family games where you actually have a few little um, exercises that you do with your dog, I suppose, and then yeah, you get points for whenever the dog has done certain things, and the kids can get involved with that. It's like family games, So all of that is out there,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, a great way to train your dog is to go through those sort of little things as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Most of the dog trainers I know, when they're training dogs, actually ask that the whole family goes to the training, not just one person, so that everybody in the family is learning the same commands. And I think that's a really, really great thing to do. I'm not a dog trainer by any stretch of the imagination. I train people about dogs. I don't train dogs. And I would have to take my dog to a dog trainer. I wouldn't be very good at it. But there are some really good ones out there that you can absolutely utilize. And if they ask you to bring your family, do it. It's so
Oh,
important.
yeah,
Mm.
great.
So we're all about education, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, we are. Thank you so much, Joe. Yeah,
Pleasure.
we'll end it there. And for any people listening in, the resources are available on dogsafeworkplace.com and also at companionanimals.nz. So there's information on understanding dog behavior and recognizing canine stress signals on both those websites. And yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Thank you for
My
watching,
pleasure.
everybody out there.
Have a great day. See you later.